So, do you realize that most people don't fail because they lack strategy? They fail because they have a strategy that doesn't align with how they actually operate. And I need you to hear this without softening it in your mind. Because if you've downloaded the planner, if you've bought the course, mapped out the content calendar, and you're still stuck in inconsistency, this is not a motivation issue. This is not a discipline issue. This is not a I need to try harder issue. It's an alignment issue. If you ever felt like, I know what I need to do, I just can't stay consistent. I keep restarting every month. I'm doing everything right, but it's not sticking. Then today is going to feel like clarity and not pressure. Because I'm going to show you something that most people never get taught. Strategy without alignment just creates more friction, not results. And we're going to fix that. Hi, Insiders. I'm Andrea, and welcome back in the room. This is a space for those of us who are looking for reset without judgment, a space that you already belong, and a space where we can take deep dives into content that helps reshape how you think and navigate life. But one thing we don't do here is stay stuck. That's right. We acknowledge it, we learn from it, and then we are moving right along. So if that's what you're looking for, take a seat, take up space, and let's move. Most people think their problem is execution or focus or consistency, but those are symptoms. Let's talk about what's actually happening underneath. On the surface, it looks like inconsistent execution, burnout cycles, constant pivoting, shiny object syndrome, or starting over every 30 to 60 days. But that's not the root. The real issue is this: you are trying to execute someone else's operating system. Let that sit for a moment, because most strategies were not built for your specific energy rhythm, decision making style, capacity level, season of life, or even emotional bandwidth. They were built for an ideal version of productivity, not the actual lived reality. So what happens now? You don't fail, the strategy fails you. And then you start questioning yourself instead of questioning that system. Here's the key line I want you to hold on to. You don't have a strategy problem. You have a misalignment problem. Now let's talk about what that's actually costing you, because misalignment doesn't just slow you down, it compounds. So cost number one, decision fatigue. Every task feels heavier than it should, not because it's hard, but because it's not integrated into how you naturally function. So even simple things feel like resistance. You're not lazy, you're misaligned. Then there's cost number two, identity cost. This one can be subtle but so powerful. You stop saying, I need a better system, and you start saying things like, what's wrong with me? You begin to internalize system failure as a personal failure. Then there's cost number three, compounding inconsistency. You don't just fall off once, you fall off in cycles. Every 30 to 60 days, you are restarting, refocusing, rebranding, realigning, replanning, reorganizing, but you never really build momentum because you keep trying to rebuild the infrastructure instead of refine it. Then there's the fourth cost, confidence erosion. This one is the deepest, because when strategy after strategy doesn't work, you stop trusting yourself, not your skills, not your ideas, not your judgment, and that's the real loss. So if nothing changes, here's the future projection. You keep upgrading your strategies instead of updating your alignment, and you'll stay productive on paper and frustrated in reality. So stay with me, because in a minute, I'm going to show you why high capacity people struggle with this the most, and why it has nothing to do with discipline. So here's the shift, and this is where everything changes. We move from what strategy should I use to what strategy fits how I actually function. That question alone eliminates half the noise in your life. Now let's break down alignment into three pillars. The first is operational alignment. This is how you actually work, not how you wish you worked. But you need to ask yourself, when do I think clearly? What do I create best? And when do I lose energy fastest? Most people schedule their life backwards. They assign their hardest tasks when their energy is at its lowest. Then they wonder why everything feels like resistance. The second alignment is capacity alignment. This is where people lie to themselves, not intentionally, but consistently. You choose strategies based on ambition, not sustainability. But you need to ask yourself here, what can I actually sustain for 90 days? What does consistency look like in my real life? What breaks me if I try to maintain it long periods of time? If it's not repeatable, then it's not a strategy. It's a spike. The third alignment is identity alignment. This is the most important layer. Here you need to ask yourself, does the strategy align with who I am becoming? Or is it built for a version of me that I'm trying to outgrow? Because if your strategy requires you to perform as someone you're not, you will eventually abandon it every time. And here's the future state. When your strategy aligns with your wiring, execution stops feeling like force and starts feeling like flow. Not because life got easier, but because friction got removed. And let me make this real for you. There was a season where I kept changing my entire life. Different planners, different content schedules, different workflows. And every single time I thought I was upgrading. But what I was actually doing was abandoning systems that didn't work well for me when functioning under pressure. I was trying to force structure on top of execution, and it never lasted because it couldn't. The moment I stopped asking what works best and started asking what works for me consistently, everything simplified. Not easier, simplified. So let's make this practical. Not overwhelmed, just clarity. First, I want you to audit before you add. You'll need to ask yourself these questions and answer honestly. What part of my current strategy feels heavy? What part feels natural? Where am I forcing consistency instead of building it? Awareness first, fixing second. Which brings us to subtract before you optimize. Remove one thing, not add, remove. One platform, one tactic, or one of those obligations that drain you. Doesn't matter. One thing. You don't need more strategy. You don't need more structure. You need less friction. Third, I need you to choose a 90-day alignment experiment. Not forever, just 90 days. Pick one platform, one offer, or one cadence that you actually can maintain and commit. Not perfectly, consistently. If this resonated with you, comment alignment if you're ready to stop collecting strategies and start executing one that actually fits you. And if you're here looking for growth built on clarity and not chaos, subscribe. Because we don't build louder systems here. We build aligned ones. And I need you to remember, there's never a question about whether or not you belong in this room, because you absolutely do. So keep showing up, keep taking up space, and I'll see you in the next conversation. Let's move.